Flat Earth Debate live. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live, and there's also a coffee, Patreon, crypto and thanks button in the info box below the video. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the nature of Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel, so please share the show on Facebook and X. Now we are joined by Neil, click OK, Brian, and a whole bunch of people in the Flat Earth Debate Discord server, so welcome one and all.
Let's get it on.
How are you doing?
Good morning, folks.
Good afternoon.
Good evening. I'm going to continue with the enthusiasm that I had in the pre-show just before we started, and Brian's sentiment after the fact. So, just to hopefully bring Brian back into the discussion immediately, Brian was suggesting just before we went live that if he had attempted to show the conversion from flat plane measurements to ball Earth sphericity, he couldn't have done a better job than Thunderfoot did in his video. Ergo, his saying that was in response to me saying that the live show yesterday was the best flat earth educational show we have done to date, bar none. Now, after watching it myself, I went to the effort of producing an advert for it and saying that exact sentiment at the beginning of the advert. Go and check out this live stream that we did yesterday if you want an education in flat earth, how it's measured and how a ball earth came to be. Go and watch that video. Go on, Neil.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was off mute.
And yeah, wonderful. We're right at the start of the live show. So anyway, go and check out that show. It's Flat Earth Debate 2176. Thunderfoot Measures Earth Flat is the name of the actual show. Hello, Eli.
We actually reviewed it again on QE Live last night.
And I would say that's
Stop
probably
it, Brian.
probably the second best stream there's ever been on this subject.
No, but what you're saying is true. He couldn't have, it was nearly like, is this a joke? That's what I was thinking to myself. Is he actually joking and handing us everything that we have, everything that we need, basically confirming to the audience that everything we've been saying is the truth. And I realized he's not joking. He's not trying to troll us or something. That is literally how they do it. There is no other way. That is what we've been saying. So he's just basically confirming what that when we state that the Earth has been measured as a horizontal plane, you know, by them, and then it's been turned into a globe. He's just affirming that. That's all he's doing.
Indeed. So it's not the done thing typically for us to say on a live stream, go and check out this previous live stream from the day before. Obviously, I want you to share this show, and I do mean that sincerity. Please share the show. But what I will do is, as I say, I went to some effort to pick out the bits that were relevant from the 2-hour live stream yesterday and hack them together in something that I desperately wanted to keep as concise as possible. That is to say, I wanted to get the essence of what was being said. It won't give you the details, but it gives you the broad strokes in under 3 minutes, because I want it to become my advert for the live stream. In other words, I want to stick this video to replace whatever we last did with Tim Osman that I've been using previously for the, you know, the advert that comes up when you come to the live stream, but it's not started yet. Well, I want this video to replace it. So if I can beg your indulgence, you're all okay for me to play the advert I just made 25 minutes ago? Yes, we are all keen. Check out the full Flat Earth Debate 2176. Thunderfoot Measures Earth Flat, as it was the best flat earth education in a single live stream we have ever done. Also, links to support this channel, PayPal and Patreon, are below this video.
Now, why not add measuring the size of the Earth to the list? Or hell.
This is what he's actually doing. This is Polaris. He's measuring an angle between him and the ground position of Polaris. That's a latitude measurement. Why is he levelling his tool? Well, because he's establishing a horizontal plane of reference. This line, it's part of the angle measurement of Earth with a ground position. This is a flat Earth measurement, and the way he's establishing a horizontal plane is with this tool. I didn't get an answer to my question. Is this measurement that is on Earth flat, is it in hell?
Not at all.
Okay.
On the surface.
Measuring two straight lines, one along the ground below Polaris and one to it with a laser light. So we're all clear we're measuring Earth flat on the surface.
How the hell I did these measurements?
So he's now going to be level. So what you would do is you get your laser pointer, you get your elevation rate, like that.
When he says elevation, does he mean his height above sea level? Or does he mean the elevation angle? You need to be more specific. Elevation means height. With what respect to? Oh, sea level. That's how height's measured. That's off a flat Earth too. If you're just talking about elevation angle, then it's the line of sight between you and the object in the sky and the horizontal plane the observer is standing on, as per my definitions.
Down both sides of the laser pointer, and then you measure it up the next day.
Do you mean the easiest way to employ your religious zealotry of being on a ball is just to assume that an angle you measured is now in hell?
This is how he convinces himself that a flat plane is spherical.
And my pole star is going to be up there somewhere. So that angle is the one that I've measured. How the hell I did these measurements? Now, the simple way of doing this is to convince yourself these are the same, is you just cut it out and you show yourself they're the same. To convince yourself these are the same and you show yourself they're the same. Or hell,
What the hell? Do you mean the easiest way to employ your religious zealotry of being on a ball is just to assume that an angle you measured is now in hell and that they're the same? Mumble, mumble. You've put yourself in the middle of it. No, you would need a horizontal plane of reference, and that's exactly what you're establishing for your ground position measurement below Polaris, along this straight line that you're leveling with this tool. For pennies, right? Yeah, how cheap it is to measure Earth flat. Because that's precisely what you're doing.
my spirit level, as you can see, is quite level.
That's my plug, my advert, if you will, for the stream that we did yesterday, titled Thunderfoot Measures Earth Flat. And I just couldn't help adding things to the title. It probably looks all right, shambles, because I'm like, I'll add on that he's done it for $80 because then it'll allude to the original video and match the thumbnail for that matter. And then I put something to the effect of, this is the best FED stream to date, or something like that as well. So it's ended up being an absolutely enormous title to yesterday's live stream. We'll have to have a rethink about what I actually call it. But after that, I'm like, well, this advert for that stream can be nice and concise. Thunderfoot Measures Earth Flat is the name of that video, the one that you've just watched. So you may not want to go and watch it and give it a comment and a like, but it'd be nice if you did. Should I share my own video? Is that tacky? I don't care. I want the views. Here you go. Go and leave a comment in the video I just made. We encouraged people to go to Thunderfoot yesterday, and a few people did say that they'd done exactly that, which is to say they went to Thunderfoot and let him know, at Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me. But it's nice to welcome him into the fold. I referred to Thunderfoot as a flat earther yesterday. I noticed that Brian had called him Thunderflat in this live stream yesterday. And these are all very
got worse than that. He's now Thunderflat Magoo.
Thunderflat Magoo. I do need to watch stream yesterday, don't I?
Kiwi is going to dispute that. Kiwi robbed a few names that people were using, and he put them all together, and he came up with his own name that he says is the actual name. But you'll have to take that up with him.
You definitely said Thunderflat in yesterday's stream.
Yes, and I added in, when he brought up Mr. Magoo yesterday, I added the Magoo part on his stream. So Thunderflat Magoo, that's what I call it.
I did actually happen to tune in for a few minutes yesterday when Flatsy was pointing out exactly that she said vicariously you'll absorb this and now put a trademark on it or a copyright on it. You know what I mean?
As he tends to do.
Actually, it's me. You've got the wrong impression there. It's typically me that does that. I just do it so overtly that people think I'm joking. So when I go, I'm absolutely going to copyright that after someone's literally just said it, and I'll say copyright Nathan Oakley 1980 after they have quoted it. But that's so egregious and overt that people think I'm joking. It's just like, no. If I can be less than subtle, then I'll get away with actually robbing that and keeping it. And I do. So that's me, not
Well,
QE.
QE's willing to use a worse name than Thunderflat Magoo just so he can claim it for himself.
Nah, Thunderflat Magoo is absolutely perfect because it's proper Mr. Magoo territory, isn't it? Where you're doing something so unbelievably stupid. I mean, maybe in his mind, after watching yesterday's stream back, I was thinking I should have made more of a big deal about this because he's typically trying to make the example nice and bright and clear. Yet when he's actually talking about the angle measurement itself, the most critical bit of his, presentation, it's in darkness. Literally in darkness. You can hardly see it. Why? Well, because it needs to be, doesn't it? It's I can't think of the word. It's poignant. It's a great metaphor. There's a word somewhere in there that someone will tell me from the chat that's perfect for this. It's appropriate. He needs to hide the flat Earth. Go on.
Yeah, for his own mental darkness. Because he's hiding flat out from himself in the dark, out in the wilderness. Or he's out in the wilderness in the dark, hiding from flat out while he's measuring it.
Yeah, when he's drawing the parallel lines in the back of his car, it's all very grim and darkly lit while he's doing these are the parallel lines, and it's on a scruffy bit of paper with all the lines he's drawn while he's next to his car that he's then going to claim are all parallel when he's only seen one. I mean, we're not going to rehash what we did yesterday. We've already done it. But you know what I'm getting at? It's all dark. You're like, yeah, until you get to this is your latitude, and here's this line from the centre of hell to the outside edge. That is, and you're like, this is nicely lit. It's just so telling. Like I say, that, other than me not putting a more fine point on that exact example, which I'm doing now anyway, I thought yesterday's show was basically perfect.
Yeah, it was a great show. Great show. And it does really sum up what you've been promoting since the start of this year. So it's been 9 months. So you've belted it.
Yeah. And at the end of that 9 months, plops out this from Thunderfoot. You're like, wow, that was an interesting...
Thunderflat Magoo.
Yeah, interesting gestation period for Thunderflat Magoo. Anyway, it's just a great stream. Like I say, I smile while I'm saying it because it's not true, because obviously I'm streaming right now. But I finished the live stream, watching it, that is, yesterday's stream. And I'm like, that's it. I can hang my hat up now. That's it. We're done. What else can we do? How can I top that? It doesn't get any better. There was, like I say, there's moments in it where you're saying, I've already said this already, but I'm just so excited about it. Where you're saying he's going to be using a horizon at a point that comes tangential to the centre of Earth, and 6 minutes later he's like, here's a horizon, it's 90 degrees. You're like, well, that's where you're standing. Tangent out in space. You're like, this is all the stuff we've been describing, but just by pure chance, not even by pure chance, it's total effort and work. I've produced all the diagrams one after the next to swiftly reference during a live stream. I mean, that's a cherry on top, right? We're not doing that in an edited video. Yes, it's a couple of hours long, but we're going through the full entirety of a 17-minute video and pulling it apart at every single point that we can pause at. So obviously it's not going to be 17 minutes long because we're playing his entire video. So it's going to be lengthy, but in the same vein, it was so concise. We're absolutely on it because we know so well what's going to come, and everyone around me is already preemptively ready to point out things that are going to be useful for the future where I don't know them. So I can react in a manner that's really green because I hadn't seen it, and everyone around me is backing me up with stuff that they know is going to be useful. It can't not be on topic. You've all watched it, so it can't suddenly have something you throw in, like Neil throws in something that isn't relevant to the next 3 minutes of video. It's all totally poignant. So like I say, after I watched it, I'm like, am I going to top this? That's as good as our live streams have ever got. Yes, it's not a debate. We're not debating with anybody live. You might argue that, well, isn't that the essence of the show? Well, yeah, that debate process has got us to the point where we can take our opponent, in this case Thunderfoot, who's claiming to make us cry with flat Earth measurements of elevation angles he then transposes into hell. Again, just that sentence was more concise thanks to Thunderfoot. I could kiss the guy.
Was the word you were looking for earlier APT? Was that the word you were looking for? When you were trying to refer to Thunderfoot? that it was apt that he was out in the darkness or something
Yeah,
like that.
apt. It was appropriate. It's just such a beautiful metaphor. We're saying how they have to disguise and mask the flat Earth angle that they're using in the first instance. And in that, if you want to call it metaphor, he's literally shrouding it in darkness. So it's poignant. I can't think of a better word. It is apt. It's appropriate that's how he's doing it. Nathan,
Yeah,
you are boring, says Delibar Warrior. Thank you. Just put that up on screen because it made me chuckle. Sorry, carry on.
Yeah, it's like when John was debating Ruhif on Actoons, and he sat there for 25 minutes of the nonsense Ruhif was putting forward, right? Heap of rubbish. And he then went to speak. He didn't get one sentence out. And the reason is that he was just about to point out where all of that was a heap of rubbish. And the reason is because you have to start with a flat plane. And that's the basics of what he was just pointing out, that, yeah, you're just hijacking the celestial dome model or whatever. And he didn't get even a sentence and a half out without being interrupted. Right, but both of them. Because he was basically pointing out, see all that stuff you just showed? Well, that all means nothing, because none of that can happen unless you start treating the Earth as a flat plane to begin with.
Yeah, refracted curvature was summarising the points in between my exasperated, annoyed, why are you using a flat Earth? I'm annoyed at this. And like I say, it's good to have that, because that wouldn't be there if I was watching it for the second time. But in a very calm and collected way, you've got refracted curvature summarising, no, keeping me on track, basically, going, this is how he takes a flat Earth and turns it into a ball. Now, it's easy to say now, after the fact. I've just watched it an hour ago, or however long I was watching my own live stream. But you go, yeah, he's summarised it in such a fashion that I would have been so annoyed if it hadn't been summarised by John in that moment, because that is precisely what's happening. And I'm just so elated with yesterday's stream. I can't stress it. I hope it gets good views. You never can tell. It might just end up with the typical give or take 1,000 views that all of them end up with. But I won't care. It doesn't matter. In your own mind when you're at a peak, and that for me was a peak that we've reached, and it's a good thing. It's nice to say, look at that. Look at the crest of that wave. Look at where we were. Look at where we are now. That's awesome.
Nathan, it was over for him when he pulled it.
Yeah, he probably did it on a Thursday.
You started disappearing and breaking up the minute you came in there, Neil. You know what? It really validates refracted curvature. I think this is, in a way, you may not... I don't want to take pun intended, your thunder away, but it kind of validates refracted curvature, because his whole thing has been that they must start by treating the Earth as a flat plane before they can do anything. Now, I understand that, because I was saying it similar myself years ago, just not in the way he was saying it. And he stuck on that and pushed it. And so, in a way, and if you add in the debate he had with Ruhif, this is like his swan song.
Absolutely.
Because he was a baller and a staunch baller up until January the 1st, 2020. And then he realised, hang on, there isn't measurements for all this stuff. But there is measurements. So what is being measured? A flat plane. That's what's being measured, with topography above and below it. So, yeah. Now, I don't mean to take that away from you.
No. It's not taking anything from me. I'm merely a conduit for this information, and I'm in no way hesitant to pass on the credit when it's me as a conduit giving it to an audience and summarising in all the more different ways so it can be comprehended by different people. But I'm summarising something that John did, and that is worth absolutely drawing the audience's attention to, because he's been doing this for years. We're talking about refracted curvature, who called John, and he went on a hiatus recently. He's been moving around with work, but up until that point, he was the one that was spearheading this, if you will. That is to say, he not only went to the extent of showing how Earth is flat and how you will convert the globe that we all thought we were standing on into the globe with flat Earth measurements, he started doing it with things like his kitchen. So if we go back to bunk and debunk, that would really be the starting point. Obviously, he's developing those things before that. But in essence, being able to convert your kitchen, measured flat, into a sphere-shaped world is the perfect demonstration to say, no, he absolutely gets all the credit for this in terms of who was it that basically said all roads lead to a flat earth? You guys need a flat earth more than we do. You know, you're going to be measuring it flat for that. Those are all ascribable to refracted curvature. He's the one who spearheaded these arguments. Like I say, I will absorb the credit for being able to distribute it because that's kind of my part in this, and I know my limits. You know, but yeah, definitely ascribe it to John. It's go back through the shows and listen to him doing it and helping me do it. You've missed one. You could have said you'll need a flat earth for that there. Here's how. And I go, oh, yeah. And I'm kicking myself because he's the one educating me in this stuff. Obviously, it helps the audience as I'm the canvas, but I'm not the one conjuring this information and producing it into a coherent argument. In this case, that was absolutely refracted curvature.
That was John yesterday, the Thunderflat's video. Thunderfoot, I'm going to use these correct terms. Thunderfoot's video is John's Mona Lisa.
AD.
What up?
We get a hello from Eli.
Huh?
Eli joined, but I
that?
just don't think we had a hello from him. Don't worry. He's
Good
obviously-
afternoon, good morning, good morning.
Good morning.
Afternoon.
Good morning, Eli.
Good morning, y'all.
Good morning, Eli.
I'm on the
Hey, lads.
I'm outside in the city. Using my headphones, so I didn't want to, bad audio. But I'll pop in when I can.
Well, everybody's on fire at the moment. We've, as much as it's, a bit cringe for us to all be patting each other on the back, telling each other how fantastic we all are, but we are. So I don't care if it's cringe, right? For instance, on Ballbusters, Eli and Brian were absolutely on fire, and the whole show is just, I don't know, if I can only assume that people who are watching these things while we're producing them take out from them the same things that I take out from them. Now, obviously, that's not always going to be the case, but when I know that the people around me are doing fantastic things, it just makes me smile. It's such a nice place to be in Flat Earth at the moment. You can look past the ridicule and the poverty and all the other detrimental things that come alongside it and go, but in terms of where we are in the discussion, the actual argument, what Earth is, what we now appreciate, how we can put those points across to an audience, we've never been in a better place. And it's soothing mentally. Not even soothing. It's exhilarating.
Just when I wanted to say something.
Yes, Siren. Woo! Go ahead.
But yeah, we gotta, I don't care what people think about us patting ourselves on the back because, there are people who are arrogant, yes, but then there are people that are the best. Arrogant or not, someone has to be more capable to do a job or fulfill a purpose than others. We've all seen it. We may sometimes call them superstars. Well, you know what? We're the unsung heroes. Maybe not even unsung. We just can't. We don't know how many people, carry our arguments or sing our praises the way I did when I first found out about this show. Like we forget about all of the things that we will never hear that are said. And you know what? Based on the things that these people in these arenas have done, sometimes information being hard to get on Google because people want to, break links and things like that. It's all because literally this show has the best arguments, and I don't care what anybody has to say.
And that's no cap.
You say this show, it's this panel, it's this group. Now, if you want to call this group something, fine, give it a title. But it's this group of people, isn't it? It's you. Because while you were saying it, I'm thinking, well, no, because you go out on the circuit and debate with people, and in person, you're an advocate for this subject, and you're not always here on Flat Earth Debate, are you, Eli? Yeah, based on your experience that you go out and garner, you can argue the toss when you are on Flat Earth Debate with your extensive knowledge that's been gained outside of this group. But everybody in this group is kind of like that. Brian, you know, that's kind of what the show's based on. Brian comes in and says, I've had this message from Wolfie. This is how the argument breaks down. Well, that's not him in flat earth debate, is it? He's just Brian doing Brian things, having his Brian arguments, and then letting us, you know, be privy to them. So it's a collective group of people that are on the cutting edge, on the tip of the spear, however you want to metaphor it. And that's all of us. It's not. I like that you've ascribed it to my show, but you think, well, we wouldn't be where we were if QE hadn't joined this show and maybe started Quantum Erasers live streams that he does. Maybe we wouldn't be where we are. So I don't know. I like it. It's a massive compliment, but there is more to it. There's just a group of people, and that group is us. It isn't necessarily just my show. But thank you.
Maybe like saying when he's saying your show, he's meaning all of us. Like,
Yeah,
anyway,
the royal this show, yes.
Yeah, a lot of people actually did enjoy what went on the Ball Busters on Saturday. More people sided with Eli, if you want to have a look at the comments on that. But yeah, it seemed to have been a good show. People were happy with it.
Yeah, it was a very good show. I enjoyed it, and I know when people are gonna enjoy it. When usually when we're going back and forth, people like that, you know.
Well,
I missed it.
go ahead,
I missed it. My family and I were out camping.
You're out camping?
Yeah, we do that every Memorial Day and Labor Day weekend.
And it's lovely weather. You know, as you step into autumn, it's hot but not too hot. Lovely, but it's wonderful.
It was raining.
Oh,
it rained.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It rained.
Oh, that's no good.
It was wet.
Normally I'd moan at you for talking about such subjects on the live stream, but I'm in a really good mood. I started really flustered. I messed up some of the settings. I'm like, as soon as someone said, "Oh, you're coming in all distorted," I'm like, "Oh, I know exactly what I've done. I've done this before," but I managed to get it corrected without having to turn off the recording. So I happen to be in a really good mood, having not had to repeat work. Although there is a swear while I'm cursing the fact that it's gone wrong. Sorry about that. If you listen to the full Uncut and After show, go ahead.
My mic working?
It is now. Hold on, D, just because we rarely get the joy of Neil's mic working correctly. Go ahead, Neil.
Stop being so damn modest.
Hey, fine. I take all credit. If it wasn't for me, none of you would be here. Give me money.
You're freaking right.
You guys
Seriously.
ever wake up to a dream in a dream?
What is he babbling about? Yeah, sorry, go on. What was it?
Yes.
I'm trying to figure out like what's going on, because yeah, I'm thinking back to our conversation on Saturday, and really we're just talking about people's journey. Sorry for the truck. Let me change my headphones.
Journey into the truth, right? And we say, well, some people wake up at a different point. You know what? I think that some people wake up still in dreamland, because it's like, how do you quote unquote wake up, have some of the correct rhetoric, but still use your brain to think incorrectly? So it's like you're almost there. You know that something is going on, but then you just kind of get rounded back up into the feast of nonsense.
Because you get emotional, you lose control, you don't think before you speak. That's why I admit, I think I write my information down on comments, as Nathan has read, better than I can actually verbally articulate it, because especially if somebody's on the opposite side rumpusing me or just saying things that just trigger me, I end up not thinking before I speak, whether I say the wrong terminology, it falls into the feast of nonsense or whatever, but it's just not thinking before you speak. And sometimes when I write it, I can look at what I wrote before I press send. So my writing articulation is better than my speaking articulation, because I can edit it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but
I don't think that's what he likes.
Well, I think he's more referring to the old the Morpheus adage when he's trying to explain to Neo why everybody who's connected to the system is unwake-upable in certain terms. So he's saying, some people are so hopelessly dependent on the system that they're going to fight to protect it. Well, that's what we're describing here. Eli saying, why is it that you come to the subject, you get ingrained in the feast of nonsense, but then you happily walk away and set back onto the ball? Something's wrong. You just can't quite put your finger on it. But then you go back to the ball. Well, that's like the guy that's plugged into the Matrix. He knows something's not quite right, but it doesn't matter. He's plugged into the system and he's going to fight to defend the system he's plugged into. That's Morpheus's point.
I think it's like, remember that scene where Neo and Morpheus were having a fight, kind of thing, like a kung fu fight or something?
Do you think that's air you're breathing?
Yeah, that point. Yeah, it's kind of like that. It's a bit like that. So people are thinking, I'm still breathing air, kind of thing. I think Eli can confirm, but
the better analogy, just before Eli does go, is they think they're breathing atmosphere. Right? Is that atmosphere you're breathing?
yeah.
Yeah, and I think the verbiage I used, I'm going to use it again. And so what it was people have their operating system. We all do. And just like computers, you can uninstall and reinstall. Like, this is what we talk about in business. This is what some teachers have talked about. The habits that you have that make up, the moments in your day, it's all connected. And so if you want to change things, you got to kind of change your operating system. You can't just decide to move things over here and there. You actually got to start over.
It's time for a reinstall. I just want to draw attention to one of the commenters. It's actually one of my members and patrons and such, like Mike808. Yesterday's show is a perfect one to share to Candice or any other, rather than the day prior. So I think what Mike808 is saying in that comment, if I read between the lines, is that rather than, I think it was Candice we covered the day before. Hopefully I've got the order of these things correct. While we're discussing Candice and her as an individual, what she has to offer as influence, what she might do in the future, etc., etc., there was some criticism that, well, how is this going to help her if she was to come? And I was like, well, I'll say Earth's measured flat right now, and then it's useful. Well, no. The show yesterday, on the other hand, if you were to think, right, what show can I share somebody that's got a good comprehension level? Because it wasn't simple stuff that we were covering yesterday. We're covering it in advanced terms, but somebody with a good comprehension level, what can I share with them that really does drill down how Earth is measured flat and the ball came from those measurements? How your religion of being on a ball is dependent on measuring Earth flat? How can I get somebody to a really good video that comprehensively unpacks that from the perspective of both a globe Earth believer and a flat Earth debunker? Or flat earther who's debunking the globe earther. You know what I mean? Anyway, that would be yesterday's video, and that's what Mike is saying with that comment. So in other words, don't share Candice her video where we're just discussing her, very lowbrow that it was. Share a video where we're talking about somebody who's going out to claim measurements of a sphere Earth in its circumferential or radial values based on flat Earth measurements. That's a much, much, much better video to share with somebody like that. Obviously, given I think it's a fantastic... Hold on, I need to... Obviously, as I think it's a fantastic video, and I've just said that, hearing one of the comments saying that would be a better video to share with somebody because of the information-rich nature of the show, I'm going to agree with Brian. He's going to now defend Candice, aren't you?
No, nothing to do with Candice.
I was just joking.
As a shareable video, would people understand what we're all saying in that? You know what I mean? They might take in the basics of it, but unless you're after going through the gauntlet a bit, you're not going to take it all in, regardless of your intellect level.
No, I know.
That's going. You know what I mean? I think that might just be a little bit.
No, I know. I get that.
For most people, to be honest.
I get that. I said it wasn't simple. It's advanced stuff. But I get simultaneously criticised and praised for this in terms of what I deal with people on OME TV in this regard with. So I will say exactly that to them. Give it them in the broadest of strokes. So it's both overwhelming but simultaneously comprehensible when I say, no, it's just measured that way. And then I might talk about latitude. Well, commenters might say, look, you're giving them too much. I'm like, well, I held back for 3 minutes, you know, not telling them that Earth's flat, so they didn't hang up immediately. There's a balance to be struck. But that criticism of, well, it's too complex. Yeah, keeping people on a ball Earth in a sky vacuum with claimed to be measurements is no simple task, and unpacking it is even more complex. But if you do want to know how you came to believe that you were on a ball, there's not going to be anything better than that. That is the pinnacle. Likewise with QE Show, I'll say it without even having watched it all. I know that is the crest of the wave, the pinnacle of understanding, a realisation of how Earth is measured flat and the ball came from those measurements. That was what was achieved yesterday. And I will praise Thunderfoot for it. I mean, literally, you can't get higher praise than Brian saying, I couldn't have made a better video of showing how that process works with flat Earth measurements. That's high praise for the flat earther, formerly known as Thunderfoot, now called Thunderflat McGee. Thank you for the super chat, Magoo. Thank you for the super chat, TVH. He says, hello, Nathan. When you next going on politics server, because it's hilarious when you start berating Glurf, Comedy Gold. I did that today. You know, we had 7 attempts to get a Glurf to concede that when he throws something that's created synthetically, aka man-made, that means there's a force of down. And when he defines that gravity is a force that makes things go down, and you ask him to look at the clouds, and 7 times later he won't concede after 5 attempts of asking him specifically with a closed question, do you understand, that suggesting there's a force that makes things go down when you've got clouds, that is the gas evaporating and going up, makes him wrong. 7 attempts later, he's not doing it, so I'm removing him from the call. You know, as he at the point I've asked him 5 times, he's like, where has he gone? Oh, he happened to have turned tail and run, and he's got something else to do. You know, you're like, get lost, these people are unreasonable. So you can see that on almost any show. But we'll be in politics on Friday to answer your question. Go ahead, Brian.
Yeah, remember what you were saying earlier about that guy? I'm wondering if he's the beginning of what we predicted a long time back. The beginning of the ballers turning away from a force of gravity and going towards some kind of a magnetism, electric universe mindset, but holding on to their globe. So, excuse me.
Hold on, Brian's vomiting and choking.
There's only a cough. Relax. So, is there a possibility that there's ballers going towards ether and dielectric acceleration and holding on to their globe? Is that possible? Is that something that may be happening? Because, you know, there's a certain section of them out there that are going at this stage, we can't prove this force of gravity thing. It was thrown out by Einstein, blah, blah, blah. But we know things go down. This is what they're going to tell themselves, which we know. So consequently, there must be a force of some kind. Maybe it's magnetism. You know, maybe it's maybe Whitson has a point with his dielectric acceleration and the ether. And you know what I mean? We predicted a long time ago that this is very likely to be the case, that they'll drop their force of gravity and go towards dielectric acceleration and ether. But, you know, why will they do that? You know, because Whitson is there promoting it, giving it to them. But that's not going to be leaving their ball. They're still going to be holding on to their globe. Because within dielectric acceleration, they're presently trying to come up with ways of how the gas that we breathe stays down. Do you know what I mean? They're presently trying to come up with garble to try and basically go against gas behavior.
Right, which is going to be their ultimate problem, isn't it? Same with upward-rising Earth. But
it's the absolute end of them. Yeah, it's the absolute end of them.
Yeah,
I've already given out the reason it is, but they haven't paid attention yet.
Well, when you go through the weight of objects in a vacuum when you remove the gas, you'd assume that.
Well, that's one way. That's one of the things. There's another reason that's within what they're claiming. I just stated. It's not a secret around. Is that gases have what they're calling electrostatics. So the gas molecules have intramolecular bonds. That is part of electrostatics. You know what I mean? So
did you say intramolecular?
Intra, yeah. It's inside the molecule. It's it's covalent bonds. So gas molecules have what they call covalent bonds, where there's like a H2O, like a 2 hydrogen, 1 oxygen. H2O, yeah, two hydrogen, one oxygen. I'm always mixing that up. So that is, let's say, three atoms that are held together by covalent bonds, the H2O molecule, right? So the covalent bonds are electrostatics. So how come the water vapor is going up then?
Yeah, that'll be spun into an excuse for why they are going down when they're not. So what they tend to do, it's all Einsteinian. I was about to say both Einsteinian, but all three of these are Einsteinian, right? The incoherent dielectric accelerative force, the bent pseudo-Riemannian space-time dimension of Einsteinian gravity, and upward rising Earth are all hanging on Einstein's principles, right? They're all the same. They're one and the same. When you're like, well, why would the ball earthers want to go towards this incoherent dielectric accelerative version of gravity? You're like, well, because they're the same thing. It's all Einsteinian, isn't it? Well, often when it's the ballers, I can't speak for the Ethereans, maybe Adam would comment, but typically they'll just take this effect and describe it as the force of the gas going down. And you go, okay, so that's your explanation for this force that's making the gas go down. Yes, it is, yeah. But it isn't! What you talking about? Gas is expanding from the ground upwards. Which is where they fail every single time.
But that was my point. That's my point, you see. And I don't think it was taken in the past when I've said it. That's my point when it comes to covalent bonds. Because covalent bonds are what they are calling electrostatics. They don't understand it. The electrostatics that they're referring to is not static electricity, it's chemical bonds, right? Hydrogen bonding between molecules, things like that, that's electrostatics, right? So water has hydrogen bonds because it bonds the H2O molecules together, right? But they're broken when they become a gas. But the covalent bonds that are keeping the H2O molecule together, that is also electrostatics. So how come that they're going up? Water vapor, where does it go? It goes up. It becomes clouds eventually. So it had to have gone up there. Some of it had to have gone up there. Do you know what I mean?
But let me pick up the reins from there. So what in the heliocentric rhetoric, right on time, you've got Thunderfoot. They assert that gas does do that. No, gas goes down like bouncy balls poured into a fish tank. Bob did the same thing. Bob Nodell, rest in peace. I can't remember if it was me or someone else that did this, so I'm not going to take credit automatically because I can't remember. It was a long time ago. But it might have been Anthony Riley, actually. He was put in a position where he was being asked what would happen if you popped a helium balloon in a vacuum chamber, and his answer was, it would all pool at the bottom. That was his response. In other words, they simply defy the behaviour of gas in their explanation when it doesn't do what their explanation is explaining in reality. Gas does not go down like bouncy balls poured into a fish tank. Gas does not pool in the bottom of vacuum chambers. It expands in all directions, in whatever vector it's travelling until it collides with the walls of a container or another gas particle. That's how gas behaves.
Yeah, but I think you're still missing what I'm trying to tell you.
No, well,
maybe I'm wrong, but give me try it again.
Go ahead.
They claim that the electrostatics set the direction.
No, I got that. Okay, so
No, don't jump in. You're not letting me finish. They claim that the electrostatics set the direction, and then they follow that up with a completely contradictory statement, and they say buoyancy and density do the rest. Right. That's basically what they say. Right. Now, the rest of what? You're already after assuming a downward bias. The problem is that covalent bonds are electrostatics, right? So all gas molecules have covalent bonds, right? So do those gas molecules go down?
I gotcha. Yeah, I'll re-summarize the point so you appreciate that.
Within let me get you. I'm at the crescendo. Okay. Within their own claim, they're debunked. But the fact that covalent bonds are electrostatics and they don't do what they're claiming will happen because of electrostatics.
Gotcha. They've got an incoherent dielectric accelerative bias in the downward direction. And you've got gases that have their intramolecular bonds with electrostatic forces. Ergo, if their rhetoric is correct, gas would be going down, go boom, boom, go splash, splash, like Bob said, in a vacuum chamber if you released the gas. But it doesn't. So why are they asserting that this incoherent dielectric accelerative downward bias has something to do with an electrostatic force when there is electrostatic forces in gases and they're not abiding by their rhetoric? Correct?
Well, no, slightly wrong. You said electrostatic forces and that. No, it's What
Bond.
they don't know that the electrostatics they're referring to when it comes to matter is not static electricity. They're chemical bonds,
Gotcha.
not static electricity. So consequently, those chemical bonds are within the gas molecule. Within their brain, electrostatic forces are causing everything to have a downward direction, a downward bias, right? So even if you take that ridiculous misunderstanding of the situation into covalent bonds in gas molecules are not behaving as they need them to behave, debunking all of their stuff.
Gotcha.
All of it.
No, I had missed that subtle detail.
Yeah.
You're saying, even though there's a misapprehension about this static electrical force that they infer, this is an what did you call it again? You didn't say
chemical bonds.
Chemical bond.
Chemical bonds.
The covalent bond that I'm calling intramolecular. That is an electrostatic force. It's not an electrostatic force. Sorry, it's just a misapprehension on their part. But even with that notwithstanding, it still doesn't go down. Right, I'm there vaguely, right? Even though I'm stumbling my way through it. I've got all the points.
When it comes to all of those bonds, inter and intramolecular bonds, they're all what they call electrostatics. So are van der Waals forces and London dispersion forces. All those are all under the guise of electrostatics, but they're not talking about static electricity. Right, this is the problem. They're all mixed up, thinking electrostatics means static electricity in some way.
Right.
No, it's certain chemical bonds. Right, that's what it's about. But even if you do go into their crazy paradigm and turn it into static electricity in your brain, if you go by what they're claiming, then the gas molecules, the H2O and all the O2, all these right that are molecules that have covalent bonds, all of them will have to be going down within their claim. Gas can't go up. It can't be going up. It has to be going down. Gas has to have a downward bias within. If you take their incorrect understanding of the situation and apply it to covalent bonds, then those gas molecules, H2O, whatever, all the gas molecules, right? All the gases that are molecules, not like helium, but hydrogen and whatever else that are molecules, they all have to be going down within their claim.
And they're not. That's the point.
No.
I just want to do a quick plug for Brian's Logic. So Divergent Droid has just dropped a link to Brian's Logic's channel. So if you haven't subscribed already, please go and drop Brian's Logic a subscribe. Links in the info box, or not the info box, in the live stream chat going by right now. It's on screen as well.
Thank you, Divergent and Nathan. Thank you. It's just the whole thing, their whole paradigm falls apart. Because the very thing they're claiming incorrectly, with an incorrect understanding of it, right, is part of gases. Right? Covalent bonds. All gas molecules have covalent bonds. So that would mean that they would have to be behaving as the plumb bob. They have to be behaving as plumb bobs, going down. Go on, Eli.
I thought one of the components of what you were saying is with these covalent bonds that actually has to do with, I guess, the makeup of a gas molecule versus outside forces pulling gases down. This electrostatic attraction or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, because what they're doing is they're misunderstanding, Eli, the difference between chemical bonds and static electricity. Right, static electricity is real, but chemical bonds are real too. But they're called electrostatics, right? They call the chemical bonds electrostatics. Now, when I first learned about them,
what fallacy is that?
Oh, it's a misplaced. I don't know.
Equivocation.
Equivocation, maybe. It's a misunderstanding, maybe as well. I don't know what way to. It's worth actually thinking about, because they are committing a fallacy.
It's equivocation.
Yeah. But even if you take, my point being is that even if you take their paradigm and treat those covalent bonds as static electric, right, then they have to be behaving the same as the piece of wood you drop or the piece of steel you drop, because according to them, they're going down because of an electrostatic force of down, right? How come then if this big massive electrostatic force of down exists, how come the covalent bond, right, which would be part of their crazy, if their misunderstanding, how come those gas molecules are not behaving that way? It debunks them. Because what they've always done, what I've noticed from my interactions with it, they've always said, well, the gases just overcome all that, right? Moving away from the fact, whether he knew it or didn't know it, moving away from the fact, no, the electrostatics you're claiming are part of gases.
Well,
And
that's
gases
just like
are
when
debunking you.
that's like when Globers say, well, gravity has to do with relative density.
Exactly. It's exactly, Eli, exactly the same thing. Exactly. Best comparison ever.
Because we're all ace.
Yeah, because all it is you take what they're claiming and look into it, what it is they're actually speaking about. Because I actually had a whole debate with it, not realizing. It was the second time. It wasn't a debate. It was it was a conversation over on his channel. He invited me for. I spent 2 hours over on his channel, and he was talking about electrostatics, and I didn't know at the time that he was referring to inter and intramolecular bonds. I thought he was referring to, because he thought he was also referring to static electricity. I found out after that from QE and Adam that he's actually referring to intramolecular bonds. I was like, that's what he's referring to, because I didn't realize they were called electrostatics. So his misunderstanding of it. Go on.
I almost caught that mind virus. Let me tell you what my thought process was behind it. But see, being with you guys and focusing on logical fallacies, because I thought, well, I can't come to good conclusions unless I understand this stuff. All of it is important, everything we talk about. I started to realize there were arguments that I would want to make because I would come across observations, right? And then I would say, oh, Globers are saying this about this. So obviously, we use language to understand things, and maybe they're just using words like wizards and they're misappropriating them. So I can actually apply whatever I feel like to this word instead of what they're applying to the word arbitrarily. And so that's how I violated the law of non-contradiction sometimes, or just maybe equivocating when something actually was well defined, but I wanted to see it as something else because I was working backwards from a conclusion that I made from an observation. This is something that you desire to do if you're not checking yourself.
Yeah, you're going to have to expand on that. I haven't got a clue what you're talking about.
So, for example, if I think, well, I have this observation of the sun or these observations of the sun where some really weird and wonky things are happening, I go, oh, okay, well, what if the sun is a laser or something? And then, the sky is some sort of refractor or whatever. And this is why I'm seeing all of these refraction phenomena. And, I just work backwards from that conclusion when I don't know what the sun is at all. And then, you start finding rhetoric like what Globers say a rainbow is, and you just make up your own explanation as to what a rainbow is based on your conclusion of what the sun is. But that's not necessarily, it's not facts.
Are you trying to say people make stuff up?
Yeah, all the time.
Why don't you just say that? Yeah, they do.
Yeah, I think either can correct me, but I think his point is that if you're an Ethereum and you're also a proponent of dielectric acceleration, and you hear the term electrostatics, you're going to pre-assume that is referring to static electricity. Because you go on mute, you're going to refer that's referring to static electricity instead of doing the research and finding out that it's referring to chemical bonds. Now, they do use terms like negative and positive and stuff like that to explain out the phenomena, but they're not claiming that electrostatics is static electricity. They're claiming it's chemical bonds. So if you don't do that, you can go off on a tangent thinking you know what they're talking about, and you can start working backwards from a pre-assumption. And that's the whole point of what I'm saying about things like covalent bonds, is that it shows up, number one, that they don't know what they're talking about, and number two, that even if you go with their pre-assumptions, it still debunks them.
Right, I follow. Yeah, that makes sense.
But I do think that guy earlier, if he's a baller, it's possible that there is ballers who will be going in this direction. Because if they see it as more of a winning direction, they don't have to. See, the thing about dielectric acceleration and ether, you don't have to be. You can be on a globe and have dielectric acceleration and ether. There's the electric universe.
That's just great.
Yeah, it's not flat exclusive, or enclosed exclusive, or stationary exclusive, regardless of what way Wizard would like to portray it. It's not. Where did it come from? Like, who's the main proponent behind it? It's Ken Wheeler. He's a baller.
Ken Wheeler, I was just going to say that. Yep.
And before him, it's actually Einstein, really. Because when you said earlier, Nathan, Einstein covered the upward moving out nonsense, the ether, and dielectric acceleration without going into dielectric acceleration. He didn't really cover that. But ether and upward moving out. And he covered, let's say, the prior beliefs concerning Newtonian gravity. He was able to deal with all that into one made-up paradigm. You know what I mean? He was able to deal with all that in one made-up paradigm because he had his equivalence principle, which had the Earth moving up as opposed to from the observer's point of view, because it's all relative. In other words, he was making no claim, right? Moving up to meet the object that's sitting stationary in free space, as opposed to the object falling down towards the Earth. And then he also had space-time, which is basically ether, right? Because ether is part of his general relativity as well.
Exactly.
So he covered several top things in one go, and he did a much better job of it than most of these people.
Exactly. With that, though, I'm going to say if you are watching this on either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley premiering streams, then stay tuned, as there will be an after show to follow. Unfortunately, though, if you are watching this live, this is where we bid you farewell. So, another massive thank you to all of you who hit the super chat, liked, commented, shared, subscribed, maybe went back and checked out 2176 and shared it with a friend. So, a massive thank you to all of you. And, of course, a massive thank you to today's Discord and G+ panels for making today's live show possible. Stay tuned if you are watching on an after show. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I will see you all in the next video.